So you've been trying to improve yourself, but you keep making excuses like, this is too hard, I'm not motivated, I'll do the hard work tomorrow. And the reason you're not making progress is because you have the wrong mindset about success. You think that you need motivation to succeed. You think that you need to be motivated to achieve success. But what if I told you that there's one thing that successful people have that is not motivation, which has driven them to the point of extreme success? This, my friend, is self-discipline. Self-discipline is the ability to control one's feelings and overcome one's weaknesses. The ability to do what you think is right despite the temptations to abandon it. Now there's a question that's proposed. How do we become disciplined? Well, there's two parts of being disciplined. There is mental strength and there is logical thinking. Now I will start with mental strength. The single best way to become mentally strong is to put yourself in difficult situations. Now what I mean by this is to put yourself in situations that suck, where you're suffering, where there's pain, discomfort. You're facing challenges. Say that's a long run, a leg workout that's like Tom Platt style, a deep work 90-minute session. All of these can be difficult, but what you must do in the difficult situation is ask yourself those hard questions like, why am I here? Why am I doing this? Why can't I just relax? The reason you're doing this is to become the best version of yourself, and that's what you need to tell yourself in that moment. If you can answer those questions, say, why am I here? Because I need to become the best version of myself. Because I need to influence all of these young men and help them become the best versions of themselves. Whatever it may be, if you can answer the hard questions in that moment, then you can stay in the fight. And the more you stay in the fight and the more you answer those hard questions, the more your mind will start to harden and you will start to build mental strength. So what I want you to do is to expose yourself into hard situations every single day and do things that are hard but you know will make yourself grow. And ask yourself those hard questions and learn how to answer them correctly, and then you'll start to build mental strength. It definitely takes repetition. You don't just build mental strength the first time you do a long workout. You don't build mental strength the first deep work session you ever do. It takes repetition, it takes practice, it takes suffering. You must suffer to succeed. And the more you suffer, the closer you are to success. So like I've been saying, expose yourself to those hard situations. Do things that make you uncomfortable. And do things that make you uncomfortable, but you know will make you grow and that you'll be thankful for later on. Now, mental strength is extremely important, but it is absolutely useless without logical thinking. Now, the reason is because without logical thinking, but with mental strength, you are just shooting an arrow in the dark. If you don't have a goal, but you're working as hard as possible, that's also shooting an arrow in the dark. So it's the same with mental strength, but no logical thinking. Because you could say, oh, to suffer, to put myself in a hard situation, I'm just gonna break my leg like a complete dumbass. And then you're gonna wind up in the hospital, and your future self isn't gonna be thankful for that when you gotta do that leg day. Because you didn't think ahead of time. You did not think logically. So what we must do is also incorporate logical thinking. So now I'll teach you how to think logically and to also use the mental strength with that to become disciplined. Now for logical thinking, I'm going to use an analogy that you may have heard Iman Gaji talk about, which is thinking in second order consequences. Now basically what thinking in second order consequences is thinking ahead of time for your future self. Thinking of not only the first consequence of your actions, but the second consequence of your actions. Same with rewards. Not only thinking of the first reward, but also the second reward. But let's start with the consequences. Say, for example, video games. If your present self wants to play some video games, the consequences will be you've wasted time. But not only that, but now your future self won't be able to focus on your work because you fried your brain by overstimulating it. You see what I'm saying? You need to think ahead of time. I would even recommend thinking in third order, fourth order consequences. Think so far ahead of time that the only option is to succeed. There is no failure. And yes, you'll come up with some bumps in the road. There will be some forks in the path, but just keep on working and keep building that mindset of mental strength. But you don't only have mental strength now, you have logical thinking because you've been thinking in second order consequences. And the more you think in second order consequences, the more it starts to become subconscious. Now, when you're thinking consciously, that's basically when the thoughts just appear in your mind. When you're actually thinking that way. But when you're thinking subconsciously, the way you're thinking is without even knowing it. So basically, you are thinking something without even knowing. That is how habits are. So basically, you say you just have a habit of opening the door. Subconsciously, you're thinking, I'm going to grab the handle, I'm going to twist it, and I'm going to pull or push. But consciously, you're not thinking any of that because it has become so routine, right? The same will happen with your good habits. The more you practice good habits and the more you suffer and put yourself in those hard situations, the second order rewards will become subconscious, and the same with bad habits. The more you avoid bad habits and think ahead, the second order consequences will also become subconscious. So it definitely takes repetition, just like to build mental strength. To have logical thinking consistently, it takes repetition. You have to think ahead. Just like when you're playing chess, you're not only thinking of offense when you make a move, you're thinking of the defense of when your opponent's going to move. So what you have to do is you have to think ahead of time. If my opponent moves here, I'm not only going to move this, but then I know they're going to move there, so then I'm going to move here. Same with your decisions in your everyday life. You have to think ahead of time for your future self. And the more you do this, and the more you delay the gratification, and don't give in to the instant gratification, the more your future self will show gratitude towards you, and the happier of a person you'll be, which is an amazing benefit. And lastly, if you can combine mental strength and logical thinking together and use these every single day, you will dominate your competition. Because even if you didn't know this, life as a man is a race. It is a race of progress, and you have competition. The competition might even be your friends, your brothers. And you're going to dominate them if you can become disciplined and use this mental strength and logical thinking. You will dominate them, whether they like it or not. But something primal in your mind knows you want to dominate them and you want to win this race. And to win this race, you must use discipline. Discipline is necessary to become successful. So use this mental strength, putting yourself in hard situations, and think in second order consequences and second order rewards. And use this to dominate your competition and win this race. To learn how to suffer to succeed, to learn how to use suffering to achieve success, click on the card in the top right corner of the screen and go watch that video. And as always, I love you, bro. Don't become wasted potential. Mwah.